How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh outweigh the bad. I thought we'd get to see forever, but forever has blown away. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I don't know where this road is gonna lead to. All I know is where we've been and what we've been through. And if it gets me to tomorrow, I hope it's worth all the pain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Thank you, guys. I know on behalf of the family, they just want to say thank you to the NC State singing group, the Grains of Time, for coming here and blessing us with that song rendition just now. Today, we want to celebrate Galicia. Sorry, I've been practicing that all week, I promise you. He lived a full 93 years of life. He was a beloved husband, a beloved dad, a beloved uncle, and beloved brother. And if you knew him, he was a treasured person to you. You know, his life mattered, and I believe that if people lived a life worthy of mattering, then we should celebrate their life, and that's exactly what we're going to do today here. We're going to celebrate the life of Gil. You know, many of you who knew Gil, you knew his fun personality. He was a guy that was just full of life. He had jokes, he had wisdom, he had advice, and if you knew him, you were just drawn to him just because of his personality. You know, as I was talking to Chris earlier this week, I was just getting to know her and her family and getting to know Gil and just who he was as a person, because unfortunately I didn't know him. But as she began talking about who he was as a person and just as he was as a dad, there was a word that came to my mind, and the word was protector. And I kind of threw it out to Chris during our time together. And it was just, he was a protector of anybody who he knew or even he didn't know. And if you were to read his obituary, that word just kind of jumps out at me as far as the description. You know, and I believe just your experiences in life are what kind of pull together and bring together who you are as a person. And from what Chris was describing of just his times in the Philippines and just immigrating to different countries, he saw and he experienced so much in his life that in his life he just wanted to be that protector to everybody else. You know, and in that, he was a protector in different ways. He was a meticulous person. And in that, he was a protector. whether it was teaching his family how to change their oil, or it was teaching them random skills, or whether it was with his job at as an auditor going against large insurance companies to make sure that they're doing everything proper and that nobody was being taken advantage of in those situations, or him living at the assisted living and making sure the other people there are not being taken advantage of either. He just wanted to make sure that everybody was treated properly and treated fair. That's just the man who he was, and that's who we want to celebrate today. But one of the ways that Chris was like, if you could just mention this, one of the ways that he was a protector was the way that he cared for his wife. He was a devoted caregiver for many, many, many years. And I know he hung on as long as he could just so he could take care of her for one more day and one more day and one more day. You know, many of us in this room, I know me in particular too, we've suffered from or have dealt with family members who suffer from the horrible diseases of dementia and Alzheimer's. And you know how hard it is to care for them day in and day out just because of how tragic those diseases are. And Gil did an incredible job of caring for his wife day in and day out and fighting for her in those diseases. And if you want to do something today in honor of Gil, then give a donation to the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina, because those organizations help support the families who are going through this day in and day out. But this is the man that we want to celebrate today. This is the man that's life is worth celebrating. And today we're going to listen to songs in memory of him. Family members will go into a lot greater detail of the great man that Gil was, and we want to celebrate his life because his life is worth celebrating today. And so as we begin our service today, let me open up it with a word of prayer. Father God, we thank you that we know that you're close to us in our time of need. Father, we pray that right now that you give this family and these friends comfort, give them peace in loss, Father. But Lord, help us to have a sense of joy today, to know that, Lord, that he lived a life worth celebrating, Father. And Lord, help us to remember the legacy that Gil left for us today, Father. Lord, thank you for your comfort. Thank you for your peace. And we ask this in your Son's name. Amen. The first song we're going to listen to today in memory of Gil is called Poems, Prayers, and Promises. Thank you, Dan, for that beautiful song. At this time, some of the family members will come and share some life tributes. At first, we're going to have Julia Megahan to come and share some of her thoughts.
I am honored today to be asked by Chris to come and say some words about Gil. So I've attempted to place into words how meaningful and enriched my life was to have known Gil Galicia. I first met Gil and Mercy on an August day back in 2023. I was their assigned move-in coordinator as they transitioned from their home in Oregon to an assisted living community here in Raleigh. I was immediately enthralled by their chemistry and banter. They were both very proud of their life accomplishments, from their selfless careers in the service of others to their 3 children, Chris, Michael, and Brian. They reveled in their big, beautiful family, successful and loving community that they had accumulated over time. In just a matter of time, they had caught me up to speed on their joint history while equally curious and questioning of mine. Gil affectionately called me Julie, a name I used to loathe if anyone mispronounced, as swapping the E for an A in my name. Well, Gil got away with it. I found myself replaying his voice and contagious laugh many times through video and memory this past week. To know Gil was to have known that no conversation topic was ever off the table. Gil's goal was to get down to the brass tacks, literally. He had a honed skill for cutting through everyday, mundane pleasantries to discover what was underneath one's facade, creating avenues for deeper, more meaningful discussion and time spent gaining wisdom and knowledge from others through shared experiences. On paper, we didn't really have much in common. We talked through everything: politics, religion, homeland, and education. Curiosity on both of our ends was the bridge. I grew up without grandparents, and at a very early age, I started to really feel that hole. In many years of moving in close to 100 residents, no residents have made a parental impact on me like Gil had. Very quickly, we would find ourselves doubled over laughing too hard. Gil was extremely witty, had impeccable timing, and wasn't afraid to make fun of himself. He wanted me to officially join his family and had attempted many times to float the idea that he would want me as a daughter-in-law, so we settled with adopted daughter. Gil and Mercy and I would lose track of time as we reminisced on old stories, flipped through their family photo albums, and spoke about their Filipino roots. Gil loved Mercy very much. He was her protector. Mercy's safety, security, and health were his #1 priority. I was lucky to coordinate their 60th wedding anniversary lunch alongside Philly this past December, and they really are the easiest people to celebrate. I treasure those days that humor masked the truth of aging. Gil would always point to the sky and ask if there was vacancy up there for him, to which I would abruptly deny that it wasn't his time yet and we wanted him down here with us. He dreamt and freely gave early verbal invites to his 100th birthday party to everyone that he even briefly met. His wisdom, tact, and determination will remain with me always. Today, as we honor Gil and reflect on his earthly 93 years, I hope we leave with this contemplation imprinted on our hearts, that stories do not have endings. So let's keep telling Gils.
Thank you for those beautiful words, Julia. And at this time, Gil's son-in-law, Mike Charbonneau, will come and share some thoughts.
Thank you, Julia, for sharing that. And thank you all for being here today, and for those who are joining online from far away. If anyone ever had a chance to talk to Gil, and as I look around, I know many of you did, it didn't take long for you to hear 2 key things about him, and Julia touched on some of these. Number 1, you learned right away he was extremely proud of his family and all of their accomplishments. And number 2, you quickly realized that he was quite a character with a little bit of a dramatic flair. You didn't have to know him well or talk to him long to get these stories. So whether you have had multiple conversations or whether you were the person waiting on our table just trying to take our drink orders, you would quickly hear first and foremost about what he called his credentials. He wanted everyone to know that he and his wife, Mercy, both worked as managers, him for the state of Oregon and her as a nurse manager at the hospital. And then he would quickly turn to talk about his 3 children that he was so proud of. His sons, Michael and Brian, and of course, his favorite daughter, Christine. And he wanted everyone to know their accomplishments, both from Michael's time serving in the military, to Brian working as a senior director at Microsoft, to Christine and her many vice president roles in different organizations. He wanted to share this because he was proud, but then he also quickly took a little bit of claim in that to say, this was because we focused on education in our house and always told them to focus and be successful. He was equally as proud of all of his grandchildren. And Kate, Lauren, Emily, Mason, and Megan and Lucy, you all know how proud Papa was of all of you and how much he loved you. What you may not know is just how much he talked about all of you when you weren't around. I was lucky enough to sit in many places, conversations at sunrise, conversations at our home, again, the person just trying to take our drink order, where he would talk about all of the things you've done, from the sports you play, which he would tell all of you that he's sure that you're going to go professional and he wanted a cut of that contract. He talked about how proud he was of what you were doing in school, when you went off to college, when you started your careers. He was so excited to share about all of that. And of course, he was thrilled when he got to spend any time and talk with all of you, whether that was in person over dinner or over FaceTime or on the Facebook portal. When his granddaughters, either in person or on video, would show up, he would immediately greet them with, "Hi, Miss Universe." And if there were two of them in the room, it was, "Hi, Miss Universe. Hi, Miss North Carolina," which then often led to debates of who gets which title with him. And because he was always so proud of you and saw his legacy in all of you and wanted that to live on, as you all know, and I'll share with everyone else, he often shared a lot of advice about the future. It always started going back first and foremost to education. He would say, education first, knowledge is power, you can be successful if you focus on your education. But he was equally interested in everybody's love lives and had plenty to say about that as well. So he would ask questions about, one he would say all the time was, so how many boys chasing you now? How many girls chasing you now? He would want to know, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? If you do, I'd like to meet them because I want to interrogate them, is what he would say. And Brody can attest that he's done some interrogation. He then also had a very specific lesson he wanted everyone to know when it came to relationships, and that was he wanted his grandchildren to all find someone, the right person that would be with them always. And so he would always drive home by saying what when it came to relationships? Yeah. Collect, and then select among them. We've been repeating that over and over again this week as we remembered him. As I said, his advice always had a little bit of a dramatic flair. He once even told Mason, don't ever take a drink from a girl because she might put something in it and you'll wake up in a field. And when Mason laughed like you all just did, he followed up with, no, it's true, it happened to me. There you go. When it came to his advice for me, it was always the same from the very beginning. He said to me very early on, MC, which is what he always called me, MC, when I'm gone, you take care of my favorite daughter. And I would say, I will. And he would follow that up with, you take care of her, because whether I go up or I go down, I'll be watching you. As the years went on, he added a little more dramatic flair to that. He would remind me, MC, take care of my favorite daughter, I'll be watching you, and if you don't, I will haunt you. And then finally, in the last couple months of his life, he added one more exclamation point to that. He said, make sure you take care of her, I'll be watching you, if you don't, I'll haunt you, and you need to know that every time you feel the wind blowing, that's me watching you. So on the last day of his life, Chris and several of his nephews from far away were gathered with him at the hospice center early that morning when he passed. And I came over to join them a little while later. The hospice room that he was in had this beautiful back glass door that went out to a patio area and to an open courtyard, and then the door on the other side went out to the hallway. So after sitting with everyone for a little bit, I went out to get a cup of coffee for Chris out in the hallway. And as I'm walking back down the hallway, just before I got to his door, a huge gust of wind blows the back glass door open, sweeps through the room, and blows the door open to the hallway just as I walk up holding the cup of coffee. And everyone in the room, having just heard the wind story, their jaws dropped and they looked at me. Because he always had to have a little extra drama and exclamation point, this is no joke, by the time we left the hospital center that morning, the National Weather Service had issued a high wind warning for Raleigh for the rest of the day. Message received. I will take good care of her, otherwise I know we will see Hurricane Gil at our front door. One last thing I wanted to share, I'm gonna reach down and get this. So Kate, Lauren, Mason, Emily, and Chris are all sitting, they're all holding hats in their hand. For those of you who got to know Gil, or if you saw the pictures coming in, you saw that he always had a hat on of some kind, and these were all his favorites that everybody's holding or wearing at this point. It's great, perfect. The one I'm holding up here is one that I know Julie and Philly have seen a lot, and some of you will too. It says Air Force One Presidential Crew. And when he would wear this and people would ask him about it, he would say, oh, I worked on Air Force One. I was a food taster for Nixon. Not true, but again, good dramatic flair. As we thought about all these stories and memories this week and had lots of good laughs and just kind of thinking of all those Papa-isms that came up, it was nice to share in those moments, but it's also nice to know that because he had such a dramatic flair with everything that he shared, that these are memories that will truly stick with everyone in our family. I have no doubt that as Kate, Lauren, Emily, Mason, Megan, and Lucy find their partners after they collect, and select, that they'll be sharing these Papa-isms with their spouses, their children, their grandchildren, and his legacy will live on, which he will love so much. Gil, thank you for having such a big impact on all of us. You are truly unforgettable.
This time we'll have another song. It's Unforgettable by Nat King Cole. the daughter of Gil, on behalf of her mom and family.
My dad prepared me for this day. He would always say, "Okay, what will you say about me? Speak from the heart." I've been practicing this for the last 3 years that they've lived here. Every Sunday was bath day, and as I bathed him, he would say, "Speak from the heart." And so I was able to tell him all the things that I wanted to say. I'm my dad's favorite daughter. I'm also his only daughter. And on behalf of my mom, my older brother Michael, who due to medical reasons was unable to travel today, and my younger brother Brian, and Lisa, Megan, and Lucy, who are online from Seattle, Washington, and Boise, Idaho, we want to thank you all for joining us to celebrate Dad's life. I especially want to acknowledge our extended family members who are joining online from Canada, the Philippines, and all over the United States who have comforted us and generously supported us today. To my dad's nephews, Hendrik, Bong, Maning, and his wife, Maverick, who traveled from Winnipeg, Toronto, and LA in time to see my dad, he really waited for you. And you all sat and made a delicious Filipino dinner when we were so weary from staying at our dad's side for 10 days, and ultimately be there with us at hospice the morning that he passed. To Transitions Life Care, and Dan, thank you so much for being here, who provided such beautiful music for us and comforted us in our final days. To UNC Rex Hospital and the incredible care. And some of our favorite people at Sunrise Raleigh. I see Alicia and Philly, Julie, Julia, where he and Mom lived for 2.5 years and ensured that he lived his final days with compassion and with dignity. And Philly, just a special thank you. You helped Mom and Dad see a bit of home every day. And you need to know that my dad loved you so much. Words can't express how grateful we are that you are here today and online. My dad and mom were immigrants to this country by way of Canada, and then finally landing in Portland, Oregon for 50 years. He loved it there, so much so that every week he asked us to bring his suitcases, to book their flights, and to call an Uber. Because he wanted to go back home to Oregon so much. Dad's final resting place will be at Mount Calvary Cemetery in Portland later this summer. To see as many of you here in this room, those who helped care for him, those who supported my mom, and Mike and I in their care, thank you. Dad would have been so moved to see this, that even across miles and screens, we are all still together. That's the family he and Mom built, and the love that he leaves behind. I know many of you are worried about my mom. With Alzheimer's, she's having a difficult time piecing her memory of Dad's passing and her time with him during his final days. But her heart remembers. It's with pure love that we decided it was best to memorialize him in private with her, as the confusion and pain in this larger setting would have been difficult. In the days before he passed, though, it felt as though Dad was holding on until he knew Mom would be safe. Once I told him I'd found a place where she would be cared for, and I promised I would look after her, he finally let go. Even in his final moments, he was protecting her. The day after Mom was sitting quietly having coffee at our breakfast table, I imagined my dad sitting right beside her. And suddenly there he was. A deer appeared at the window, looking at my mom as she tapped her foot, listening to Nat King Cole. I like to think he was making sure that she was safe. My dad was my mom's sole caregiver after she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2016, until we life flighted them to Raleigh on my dad's 90th birthday. Our oldest, Kate, flew back to get them. We laugh at this heroine act of love as my dad fell that night and got a black eye. And he jokingly told everyone at the airport that his granddaughter hit him. Ha, 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 ha. No, I'm just kidding, Kate. She's my granddaughter. You are so good. If you know my dad, you also know that he was tough, impatient, and stubborn. As kids, he used to say to us, "You need to establish your habit now." Every Saturday, we were out in the yard, mowing 3/4 of an acre, pulling weeds, and not just from the top, digging down to the bottom of the root. And Mom would always give us a pass if we were reading, but not Dad. To him, our house chores, the yard work, it was not just establishing habits, it was accomplishing something as a family, caring for our home, ensuring it was presentable, something we could all take pride in. As an immigrant, it was accomplishing the American dream, owning a home, becoming management, wearing brand name clothes, providing for his family, and seeing his children pursue their dreams. My dad had a hard time trusting people. He would often say, "Trust no one but yourself." He was no pushover, interrogating until he was satisfied. But once you had his trust, you had him for life. Julie, Nancy, Tony Bennett, who are Cece and Dawn, his attorney, Brody, his insurance guy, Wes, and MC. And once you had him for life, everything was free game. From your politics to your religion to your relationship status, he loved to understand people at the core. And he'd ask, do you give, or do you take? What we give to others becomes part of who they are and part of how they remember us. My dad always used to say, "You'll remember me." We remember your watchdog temper, understanding now your intention was to fiercely protect who you loved. We remember your love for shopping and finding unique gifts for each one of us, and those bricks of Tillamook cheese wrapped in tinfoil. We remember you for your laugh and your inappropriate jokes. Cue Mason, I need to hear the laugh. And we remember you for intentionally showing up when it mattered. We remember you for collecting oranges and apples and granola bars by the handfuls at sunrise that you would save and give to us and make sure the kids had something good in their lunch. We remember you teaching us to be self-reliant, changing our oil, sharpening those lawnmower blades, doing our taxes, and learning never to put things off. We remember you for all your savings, your sayings, and your life lessons. Whether it's the wind, a deer, a Frank Sinatra, or a Nat King Cole song, you are always present and in our hearts. You asked us, will I go up or will I go down? I-4-3, Dad.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing those beautiful, beautiful memories. At this time, we'll have our last song, On Eagle's Wings, sung by Dan again.
Snares of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear. Under God's wings you will refuge, with faithfulness your shield, and I will raise you on eagle's wings. There you are, the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of my hand. For to the angels God's given a command to guard you in all your ways. Upon their hands they will bear you up, and lest you dash your foot against a stone. And I will raise you up on eagle's wings. There you are, the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of your hand. And I will raise you up on eagle's wings. There you are, the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of my hand.
What a life that he lived, right? He lived an incredible life. You know, as I was in the Welcome Center, I was talking to Amy before the service started, and I told her, I was like, this is probably the nicest family that I've met in my times as being a pastor and everything. I was like, they're just genuinely nice. And she was like, oh my goodness, yes, they were one of the nicest families too. That's a reflection of your dad and your mom. And that's how their legacy lives on. You live out what they taught. You live out the wisdom, the advice. Live in the legacy that Gil has left you. He lived an incredible one. Walk in that path. So this will conclude our service here today. But like I said earlier, if you want to do something in memory of Gil, then please give to the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina to help families who are going through that path as well. There will be a reception just across the hallway here for all that would like to attend and to see the family again. At this time, Amy will come forward and will escort our family out.